What's up, guys? So I was talking to a friend the other day and he was asking me all these different tree stand questions, like, oh, how high should I hang it? How should I position it? Do I trim out everything? What will make it easier to hang? All these different questions. And so I was sitting there thinking after I answered them, I was like, you know what? That might make a great video and it might help a lot of other people. So I sat down and I kind of figured out what tips and tricks I would provide, and I came up with 7. 7 that I think are pretty useful and can definitely provide some value to you guys. So I just I'm just gonna kind of go through them, and they're kind of in a chronological order, like when you get to the tree all the way to when you're done hanging your stand and you're on your way out. So there's 7 tips in there, and I'm just gonna start out. Number 1 is pick your tree based on wind, cover, and circumference of the tree. What I mean by that is wind, you always have to have the wind in your favor. So always make sure that wherever you think the deer are going to be coming from, the wind is coming from that direction too and blowing your scent the other way. You can beat a deer's eyes, you can beat a deer's ears, but you're not going to beat their nose. You're human, you smell like human. When they smell human, they think danger, they get the hell out. So always, always, always have the wind in your favor. Number 2, cover. Actually, I'm going to go into circumference first. Circumference of the tree is the next thing I look for. And by that, I mean, you can't have obviously a really skinny tree because then it's not going to hold you. But you don't want a really fat tree either, because then when you're hanging your straps, you're standing there and you're doing like and you're trying to catch it with the other hand. We've all kind of been there, and that's just a pain. It just really is. It's a pain in the ass, and it makes things clumsy. You bang your ratchet straps and all your stuff, and it just creates noise and it's loud and it's just annoying. So for me, trees have to be, I got to be able to wrap my arms around them. That's the best way to do it, because then when you're doing your straps and everything, you can just easily touch your hands, and you put your loop on, you go around, you put your other loop on, you pull tight, and you're good to go, and you can do it all pretty easily. So always have, that's my tip, is find a tree that you can wrap your arms around and touch your hands. And then as far as cover goes, I always like to have trees with cover. So if I had a couple trees, one's naked, one's got cover, I'm getting in that one that has cover, because it's going to break up my outline. It's going to make me seem more like part of the tree, and I'm not going to stand out like a sore thumb. So, and I've been in those scenarios where all you have is a tree that's naked and you got no other option. So in those scenarios, I just put the tree between myself and the deer. So if I think the deer are coming, out this way, I'm gonna put the tree here and then me on the other side of that tree. And that way I can use the tree as cover. So deer comes in, I kind of hang tight, he gets behind the tree, I draw, he walks past, I shoot, I kill. Of course, I'm perfect shot. No, just kidding. So that's how I do that when I have to work with a naked tree, is always get that tree between me and them. All right, so that's how I pick a tree. And that's it for number 1. Number 2 is hang your stands at a height that's conducive to the scenario that you're in. So that's kind of like pretty vague, but essentially you want to be able to shoot the deer, like no matter what. Like if you hang your stand at 12 feet or 30 feet, you got to be able to shoot to where you want to shoot. So for me, a general rule of thumb is like 10 to 15 feet in early season, because there's a lot of foliage, there's a lot of cover, and you're not going to be able to shoot pretty far unless you're hunting field edges or something. Otherwise, in the late season, when there's not much foliage and not much cover, then I'm looking at 18, 20, 25 feet for stands, because then I'm getting out of the line of sight of a deer's vision. And deer's eyes are built to sense movement. So if they're looking, if their eyes just naturally cover up to like 15 feet and you can get up above that, so that when you draw your bow or something, they don't catch that movement, the more power to you. Early season though, it's pretty tough to do that and still be able to shoot down, because there's so much cover. Unless you're hunting field edges, like I said, then you can get up there as high as you want, so long as you can shoot where you need to shoot. For me, pretty comfortable is anywhere from 15 to 20 feet. That's usually what I shoot for. Getting above 20 feet, I'm a little scared of heights, so I'm not all about that. And getting below that, in the 10 to 12 foot range, you're kind of in the deer's line of sight, so it's pretty easy to get picked out. Last year though, I shot my buck, and I was 12 feet off the ground. So, and I just put the tree between me and him, and I had some good back cover, so it all worked out great. So essentially, your hang height depends on the scenario that you're in, and there is no right hang height. There's no like, oh, I need to be at 30 feet or else I'm not going to kill deer. That's just not the case. Like, you can kill deer at any level. It's just whatever works best for that scenario that you're in. So that's number 2. Number 3, position your stand so that you have minimal movement when drawing your bow and when a deer comes in. And what I mean by that is, if you're right-handed, you want the deer to come in from your left. And no, you're all going to sit down and do this right now, but if the deer's coming from your left, it's really easy to draw your bow and just shoot it. And vice versa, if you're left-handed, you want that deer to come from your right, because it's really easy, minimal movement. You know, all you're doing is this, and you're pulling your trigger and you're done. So that is a really big tip that I have that creates a lot more success for people, because it's just minimal movement and trying to keep everything as tight as possible. You have a lot of people who start out and they always want to hang their stand so it faces the trail. Well, then if that deer's coming in right in front of you and you're drawing, like 90% of the time your elbow is hitting that tree or hitting a branch or something behind you, and it's just it's tough. It just doesn't work like that. And this goes for hang-on stands, ladder stands, you know, all your stands. Like, you always want that deer to come from your left, because it's just so much easier rather than straight on. Like, that's a huge mistake I see a lot of new hunters make. So that's number 3. Number 4 is pre-measure your straps for your tree steps and your tree stand at the base of the tree, so you don't have all that excess junk hanging out when you're up in the tree and you're trying to, like, get your ratchet straps on, get your pull straps on and stuff, and you got, like, you know, an 8-foot strap and it's fully extended out to 8 feet and you're trying to pull all this excess. Like, if you want to make it really simple, really easy, just measure it at the base, get a rough estimate of how long you need that strap to be, and that way when you're in this, when you're in the tree, you can put the stand up, you can loop on one side, loop on the other, pull tight, and you're done. Which kind of brings me to my next, like, part of this tip is I always run a pull strap on the top and a ratchet strap on the bottom of my stand. I always use 2 straps just for safety purposes. I never want one to fail and that's all I got. But when I'm up there, the first strap I put on, I pull that stand up and I put my loop or my pull strap on first, get right around that, pull tight, and then it's like set. And then I can go back down or pull out of my pocket my ratchet strap and I'll put that on the base, and then I'll really crank her down. Then if I need to readjust that top one, I can always readjust it then. But that ratchet strap's always hard to put on first, so I always just put that pull strap on first, 'cause it's super easy, ratchet strap second, tighten them all up, and then I'm good to go. So that's number 4, I believe. Yeah, that's number 4. Number 5 is, if you got some rock in your tree stand, you know, at the base, like your main platform. If you see me swatting at these bugs, there's definitely mosquitoes and gnats around, and I'm trying to avoid them, but they're tough. They smell me and they're coming for me. So if, anyway, number 5 is, if you got rock at the base on your platform, here's the trick to fix that. Like, you're up there and you hang it and you're good to go, and then you grab that platform, like the end of it, and you pull it back and forth, and it just like swings back and forth and it's not totally dug into the tree. The trick to fix that is actually take your platform and fold it up a little bit, just pick it up like 5-6 inches, and then take that bottom ratchet strap and really crank on her. Give her 3-4 more cranks, as many as you can, and then actually just 3 or 4, not as many as you can, because then you fold the whole thing up. But then after you do that 3-4 ratchets, pull that stand down, and those teeth on the back of that stand closest to the tree will really dig right into that tree, and that will 99% of the time totally eliminate that rock, and sometimes it'll just minimize it, but for the most part, totally eliminate it. And it really helps and makes you feel a lot safer. I know I've sat in some sketchy stands that rocked before I knew this trick, but it works really well. And you'll notice when you push that platform up, it kind of slides down the tree a little bit, so you kind of gotta brace it a little bit. But again, like, do a couple ratchets there and pull that sucker down, and it'll grip right into that tree. So that's number 6. Number 7 is, when you're trimming your shooting lanes, you want to trim as minimal as possible. So you don't, when you get up there, deer really understands. I mean, they live in this woods, they're in the woods, you know, 24/7. It's their life. And when you cut like trees down, they notice. So if you can, the perfect situation is slip in, hang your stand, you don't have to trim anything, and get out of there. That's perfect situation, but that's just not always how it works. So when you're cutting your shooting lanes, just cut as few branches as you can and just create those small windows that you need and feel comfortable with. When a deer walks through, you'll be able to draw and shoot. And that's another reason you don't want to trim too much, because you want that cover for drawing, and then you want them to be able to step out into that window and then shoot. So just, you know, I've had friends who just totally clear out, you know, it's huge, like you drive a truck through it, and then they don't see deer coming through there anymore, when previously they had a trail camera out there and they're catching everything. And it's kind of, they're like, why did that happen? I'm like, well, he had his bedroom and you just totally tore it apart. He doesn't want to go to his bedroom because he knows you're there now. And he's like, yeah, I guess, I suppose, you know. So, you know, minimal trimming. It helps a lot. And for me, on public land, I can't trim at all. So I just got to figure out, at least in Wisconsin, you can't trim at all. So I got to figure out areas that I can sit in that have enough cover, but not too much. And yeah, it's tough, but you figure it out and you learn. So that's number 6. And lastly, number 7, you get your stand all hung up there. It's all looking great and perfect. You're ready to take off. Take your tree seat with you. Nobody wants to donate a tree seat, you know, your tree stand seat, to the squirrels, the mice, you know, chipmunks, birds, anything that eats it. You know, like, I mean, you leave them out there, they're gonna get destroyed. And also, another reason not to leave them out there is because they'll get wet, they'll get damp from rain, they'll get damp from dew, and then you get out there in the morning, you sit down and you got a wet ass for the next 3 hours. And that's uncomfortable and it just sucks. So always take your tree seat with you. And then always remember to bring it back, because it sucks just sitting on those metal bars, I tell you. Been there a few times and you do it once or twice and then you don't do it again. You remember that tree seat. So those are my 7 tips. I hope they help you guys a lot. I hope you find them useful. You got any comments, questions, or anything like that, drop them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of them, subscribe. Trying to make a lot of videos this year on tips, useful tricks, things that are helpful to people. I didn't really have a mentor growing up with hunting, and I had to learn a lot of this on my own, and I'm just trying to pass on this knowledge, or as much as I can, to people, so that, you know, when they're hunting, their learning curve is decreased, and in turn, you know, they become more active in the hunting world and hunt more. You know, the whole point of this is just to help people and hopefully increase the amount of hunters out there. So hopefully you guys like this, and good luck this season. Catch you guys later.